Everything to do with the Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot drama is also not helping at all in the least. In fact, it's only making things worse for the Disney image, for the overall Snow White box office results.
Disney doesn't know what a Disney princess is anymore, which is crazy.
What was this Academy Awards? Anyway, feminist Conor McGregor.
Who the fuck is that guy?
It's a weird walk for a weird broad, and I don't like her.
It is, and it's really mean to put her next to Gal Gadot.
The news seemed to explode across social media with no warning. Reports emerged that Gal Gadot had been abruptly removed from her role as the evil queen in Disney's live-action Snow White. Fans and industry insiders alike were caught completely off guard. If you're watching this right now, take a second to subscribe. What you're about to hear reveals the shocking truth behind Disney's most controversial production in years.
It just takes a beloved movie and makes it much more boring and much less realistic. The movie is really, really bad.
What started as whispers quickly erupted into Hollywood's most talked about scandal. This wasn't just another casting shakeup. It marked the culmination of months of festering tension that ultimately exposed deep cracks within Disney's creative direction. Long before cameras started rolling, trouble was brewing. Rachel Zegler, cast as the iconic princess, made statements that ignited immediate backlash. The original Snow White is outdated. Comfort.
Well, the primary suffering is being sent in by my company to watch a children's movie as a single man, like 2 p.m. on a Thursday. That was the first part that was a little bit weird, but I was basically the only person.
These words spread like wildfire across social media, with traditionalists viewing them as a direct attack on Disney heritage. Fan responses were swift and merciless. If you hate the original so much, why are you even in this movie? Became a common refrain. But what many didn't realize was that these public comments were just the visible tip of a much larger iceberg threatening to sink the entire production.
Few people wanted to see this. Even the little kids who like Disney movies, even they don't seem to be turning up in droves for the movie because the movie is really, really bad.
Behind closed doors, tension between the film's two leading actresses had reportedly reached a breaking point. Sources close to the production described an environment charged with creative differences that made daily filming increasingly difficult. Gadot, known for her commanding presence, reportedly pushed for a more nuanced evil queen.
And so I've got some bona fides here on being fair. The movie was absolutely terrible.
One with depth beyond the animated villain. Her interpretation apparently clashed with the production's focus on centering Zegler's Snow White as the film's sole emotional anchor. It wasn't just about screen time, revealed one insider who requested anonymity. It was fundamentally different. Visions for what this story should be. Gadot believed the queen deserved a compelling backstory. She fought hard for those scenes. And what happened next would change everything.
In every way that the movie differed from the beloved 1937 original,
during a pivotal third-act sequence requiring multiple reshoots, the friction reportedly boiled over. The actresses' competing visions led to heated exchanges that eventually reached Disney executives. While public statements remained measured, behind the scenes, the situation had become untenable. As controversies mounted and public skepticism grew, Disney's leadership faced a crisis unlike any they'd weathered before.
This movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter of liberalism. It wasn't through a filter of Japanese anime, it was through a filter of liberalism.
Bob Iger, having returned to helm the entertainment giant during an already turbulent period, found himself dealing with a cornerstone property spiraling out of control. The cancelled United Kingdom premiere sent shockwaves through the industry. Official statements cited logistical conflicts, but industry insiders whispered that Disney was desperately trying to prevent embarrassing questions directed at the cast.
So from the casting to the class politics, the politics, the regime politics, everything about it was liberal.
This unprecedented move telegraphed that something was seriously wrong. Then came the bombshell that rocked Hollywood. Reports emerged of an explosive meeting where top Disney executives, including Iger himself, lost patience. According to sources, Iger's frustration reached a breaking point as the controversy threatened to further erode Disney's already fragile brand image. The meltdown was real.
Snow White is generally understood to be a very, very white person. And in this case, they decided, no, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't think that's We're allowed to say that, right? I was referring to the movie as sand beige.
Claimed one executive who witnessed the aftermath. When a cornerstone property becomes entangled in this level of controversy, heads will roll. The decision to remove Gadot was made in that pressure cooker environment, a desperate attempt to salvage what remained of the film's reputation.
But it's no really knock on her. If you did the autobiography of Malcolm X, would you cast Tom Hanks? If you remade Moana, would you cast a little Irish guy? No, you wouldn't. So that was off the top.
News spread overnight, leaving fans in disbelief. Some suspected it might be another baseless rumor, but as major entertainment outlets confirmed the story, the shocking reality set in. Disney had fired the evil queen.
It is not racist to suggest that a character who is described in the original as skin white as snow, that is literally how the character is described in the original, that's a character description in the same way that, as you mentioned, in Moana.
For Gadot, the experience was reportedly devastating. Sources close to the actress described her as heartbroken and bewildered. She had invested herself fully in reimagining this iconic villain, only to see that opportunity vanish in the most public fashion possible. She poured her heart into this role, said someone from her inner circle. To be released so abruptly left her struggling. This wasn't just another job for her.
And so this bizarre fixation with race shifting everything, but only in one direction by Disney, obviously is
the
quite...
The official word from Disney remained deliberately vague, calling it a creative decision, wording that only fueled more speculation. Fan camps quickly formed, with one group rallying behind Zegler and another seeing Gadot as the victim of a production gone wrong. What remained unclear was whether the friction alone caused rifts so significant.
So I want to get to the politics of it, because obviously this was a big thing for Rachel Zegler, the star of the film. It was a big thing for all the left-wingers who made the movie.
That Disney felt compelled to take such drastic action, or if mounting controversies had simply made Gadot's continued involvement more trouble than it was worth. At the heart of the controversy lay fundamental disagreements about updating classic tales. Early rumors suggested the Snow White remake.
One of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
That would dramatically alter key elements of the beloved 1937 animated film and the centuries-old Brothers Grimm fairy tale. It's not about the love story at all. Zegler had stated in an interview that went viral, "It's really, really wonderful, and whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess."
Replace the prince with a common criminal. So there is a prince-like figure, but he's no longer a prince. He's a criminal. And I think this plays first into the class politics of the left, which hates even the very idea of aristocracy.
These comments alarmed traditionalists. More rumors surfaced. The prince had been replaced with a common criminal. The seven dwarfs were being reimagined, and the central themes were being drastically reinterpreted. They've replaced all of those elements with lowercase d democratic elements, claimed one critic. The way she wins over the kingdom is not by taking her rightful throne.
She's right. They clearly want to diminish the love story. I think after the backlash from those comments a year and a half ago, whenever they were, they did beef up the love story a little bit. But nevertheless, he plays an ancillary role. And you see this in the fuller scope of the politics.
It's by flattering the guards who are trying to kill her. While some welcomed a contemporary approach, others viewed these changes as an assault on cultural heritage.
Placed all of those elements with lowercase d democratic elements. So the way that she wins over the kingdom is not by taking her rightful throne. It's by flattering the guards who are trying to kill her. It's basically by being a good retail politician. The fact that she can shake hands and kiss babies is how she does it.
The film became a battleground in a larger conversation about updating classic stories. Disney doesn't know what a Disney princess is anymore, lamented one viewer whose comment amassed thousands of likes. The backlash intensified when set photos leaked, confirming some rumors. Disney had severely miscalculated how passionately audiences would react to these alterations. Disney's attempts to contain the situation only made things worse. Their tightly controlled media strategy, limiting interviews, canceling premieres, and redirecting uncomfortable questions, created a vacuum that rumors eagerly filled. A wave of carefully worded articles appeared in entertainment publications, framing the film as a bold reimagining and groundbreaking reinterpretation. Critics quickly noted the uniformity in phrasing, suggesting Disney's PR machine was working overtime to shift the narrative. Meanwhile, Iger made repeated statements, attempting to calm the storm. He insisted that suspicions of a broader cultural agenda were overblown, emphasizing that Disney wasn't in the business of making political statements, but rather universal stories that resonate across generations. Yet observers noted a pattern of deflection, with Disney focusing on misinformation rather than addressing the actual creative decisions that sparked backlash. This approach only intensified skepticism among fans who felt the studio wasn't being transparent. When asked about Gadot's departure, Disney representatives offered only perfunctory responses, further fueling the perception that they were desperately trying to hide something significant. Behind the scenes, Disney faced another looming crisis. Projections for the film's box office were turning increasingly grim. Analysts predicted a disappointing turnout based on tepid audience interest and the toxic controversies overshadowing the film. "Very few people want to see this," remarked one industry insider. "Even the little kids who like Disney movies don't. Seem to be turning up in droves based on our preliminary surveys. The movie is really, really bad." With a massive budget reportedly exceeding $200 million, Snow White needed strong audience support to avoid becoming a financial disaster. Yet, the atmosphere surrounding the film made such support increasingly unlikely. Disney's marketing team faced an impossible dilemma: ramp up publicity and risk inflaming more controversy, or dial back promotion and further reduce the film's visibility. Both choices carried potentially catastrophic consequences for a studio that had already weathered several underperforming releases. The synergy Disney typically relies on, connecting films to theme parks, merchandise, and streaming services, appeared to be unraveling as enthusiasm waned. What should have been a cornerstone release was instead becoming a cautionary tale about mishandling beloved properties. The Snow White controversy didn't exist in isolation. It amplified existing concerns about Disney's broader strategy of reimagining its animated classics. Previous adaptations like Mulan, The Little Mermaid, and Pinocchio had faced backlash, though none had descended into such public chaos. Industry watchers began questioning if Disney was experiencing a deeper identity crisis. Once the undisputed master of magical storytelling, the studio now seemed caught between preserving its legacy and appealing to changing audience sensibilities. This bizarre fixation with race-shifting everything, but only in one direction, by Disney obviously is quite strange, noted one commentator, referencing the casting controversies that had dogged several recent productions. The fallout extended beyond Snow White to affect Disney's other franchises. Star Wars had weathered its own fan rebellions, and certain Marvel projects had faced criticism for missing the mark. Snow White's meltdown accelerated the narrative that Disney was losing touch with what made its stories special. For Zegler, the controversy created an unwanted spotlight. Many viewed her early comments as catalysts for the chain of events that led to this debacle. Navigating that perception would prove challenging as she continued to promote a film now inseparable from its behind-the-scenes drama. As the dust settled, questions about the film's fate remained. Would Disney take the unprecedented step of delaying or even shelving the production, similar to Warner Bros.' infamous cancellation of Batgirl? Or would they push forward, hoping the final product might somehow overcome its troubled history? "The momentum is gone," observed one veteran studio executive. "When your promotional campaign becomes dominated by controversy rather than excitement, recovering is nearly impossible." Beyond Snow White's immediate prospects loomed larger questions about Disney's approach to its classic properties. Would this meltdown force the studio to reconsider how aggressively it updates beloved stories? Or would Disney double down, dismissing the backlash as resistance to necessary evolution? The final chapter would only be written once audiences rendered their verdict. But regardless of box office numbers, the Snow White controversy had exposed fractures within Hollywood's most powerful studio and revealed the immense challenges of reinventing cherished cultural icons. What began as a fairy tale had transformed into a cautionary story about the collision between corporate strategy, artistic vision, and audience expectations. For Disney, the lessons learned from this unprecedented meltdown might ultimately prove more valuable than any box office success. The Magic Kingdom had lost some of its sparkle, and winning it back would require more than just wishing upon a star. Subscribe now for more untold Hollywood stories, and let me know in the comments what you think really happened between Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot on the Snow White set.